Greetings from the bottom of my heart once more, my dearest students. Now that we're done with the introductory lesson to Physics Part 1, let us now proceed to introductory lesson to Physics Part 2. Last time, we already discussed the definition of physics as well as its branches. This time, we will describe the nature of physics. The following are said to be the major description of the nature of physics. Number 1, it is the study of the fundamental laws of nature. Number 2, it deals with the behavior and structure of matter. And number 3, it aims to predict how nature will behave in one situation on the basis of experimental data obtained in another situation. Before we discuss them further, let us take a look at the first point once more. Can you give a particular law of nature which you have learned from your previous science subjects? Now, let's take a look at the second point. Can anyone recall anything you have learned about matter? Okay, let us move on to the third point. Can anyone share some experiences with any experiments you have encountered before? Now, we may proceed. Physics, according to this, studies the fundamental laws of nature. But do you know what a scientific law is? Let's find out with the help of this video. I hope that clarifies everything. Next, we have the fact that physics deals with the behavior and structure of matter. You see here the three phases of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. And you can also see the way their particles move at normal condition. Normal condition, for example, is room temperature. In physics, we study how different forms of energy affect how the structure of matter behaves. What does that mean? It means that we study how matter behaves when it interacts with mechanical energy, radiant energy, thermal energy, electrical energy, and sound energy. Lastly, since physics deals with scientific laws, and a scientific law's purpose is to predict what happens, physics consequently aims to predict how nature will behave in one situation on the basis of experimental data obtained in another situation. Take note of the words experimental data. To obtain such, variables must be identified first in the process of designing the experiment. Shown here are the types of variables and their determining characteristics. We have here the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the controlled variable. Independent variable is the one thing you change, and of course you limit it to only one in an experiment. In other books, independent variable is defined as the one that you manipulate to see how it affects another variable. Now, The next type of variable is the dependent variable, the change that happens because of the independent variable, meaning the cause is the independent and then the result or the effect is the dependent variable. We also have the third one, which is the controlled variable. Everything you want to remain constant and unchanging. To further understand each of them, let us have a sample experiment. Let's say that we need to gather experimental data about how the liquids used to water a specific plant affect the height of that plant. Our independent variable will be the kinds of liquid to be used to water the plant, since we, as the experimenters, have the ability to change the kind of liquid for each of our setups. As you can see in the illustration, we chose cola as liquid for watering setup A. Let's use the pen and then let's make it red. Here, the cola for setup A. And then we chose orange juice as liquid for watering setup B. Next, we chose tap water for watering setup C. Another way to describe the independent variable is to treat it as the cause for a possible change in another variable that we are investigating. On the other hand, our dependent variable will be the height of the plant because we, as the experimenters, will observe how it will be affected by the variation in the liquids used to water the setups. The dependent variable must be a measurable characteristic of the experiment's subject. In this case, our subject is the plant. What other dependent variables can we choose in this example? For the plant, we can also choose the number of leaves. But as you can see, they have the same number of leaves in the illustration. We can also choose the average length of the leaves. So you measure each leaf and then you get the average of the length or the length of uh, the plant's roots. Okay, instead of the height, you get the length of the roots. It could also be 1. However, we should only choose one among them. And this time we chose the height of the plant. One independent variable, remember this, one independent variable corresponds to one dependent variable only. Therefore, for the experiment to be accurate, we should set controlled variables to minimize or eliminate their interference to the data gathered. The controlled variables should include all factors that might alter the observations. In this example, the controlled variables are the following. The type of plant. If we choose petchay for setup A, the plants in setup B and C should also be the same species of petchay. Number 2, pot size and amount of soil. The pot and the amount of soil must be the same for setup A, B, and C. Number 3, the type of soil. If you use loam soil in setup A, you cannot use sand in setup B or another type of soil in setup C. Number 4, the amount of liquid. If you pour 50 ml of cola here in setup A, you should also pour 50 ml of juice in setup B and 50 ml of tap water to set up C. And then number 5, amount of sunlight. We can control this by putting all the setups in a place where they will most likely receive the same amount of sunlight. Okay? Before we proceed with the other facts that describe the nature of physics, let us answer this activity. In this activity, I will show and read to you a scenario which could be a premise for an experiment or the actual experiment itself. Your task is to identify the independent variable, the dependent variable, and the controlled variables. I will give you 2 minutes for this to analyze the scenario. I know it did not become 2 minutes. It's okay. Okay, let's proceed to answering number 1. The independent variable is the color of light. Wait, let me read the scenario first, no? Mr. Smith wanted to see if the color of light shined on a plant had an effect on the number of leaves it had. He gathered 2 groups of the same species of plant, gave them the same amount of water, and did the test for the same amount of time. On one group of plants, he used white light. On the other group, he changed the light color to red. So the independent variable is the color of light. Mr. Smith used white light for one group and red light for the other. The dependent there. The dependent variable is the number of leaves. Okay? And then the possible controlled variables are the species of plants, the amount of water, and the amount of time. Your keyword here is the word same. If the plant used under white light is Mimosa pudica, the same species will be used under the red light. If Mr. Smith used 100 ml of tap water for the plant under white light, the plant under red light will also receive 100 ml of tap water. It is important to take note that if you use tap water on one group of plant, you cannot use distilled or mineral water on the other plant because it might cause different results. Also, the same amount and type of water rather must be used all throughout the duration of the experiment. Now, if Mr. Smith subject the plant under white light for 1 month, he should also subject the other group to red light for 1 month also, and it should be simultaneous. Okay? Let's have another one. I only prepared. Okay. You have, let me read first. You are managing a large feed lot of cattle. A pharmaceutical company wants you to try a new antibiotic to treat shipping fever in a newly arrived cattle. You are currently not using any antibiotic to treat shipping fever in your cattle. The company claims that it is more effective and will save you money using this antibiotic. You will use the same feed, water, and conditions of the cattle. You will measure the temperature of the cattle's fevers to see whether or not the new antibiotic works on treating the shipping fever. That's your time left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's answer. Our independent variable is the treatment for shipping fever. One group will have no treatment and another group will have the antibiotic proposed by the pharmaceutical company. The dependent variable, on the other hand, is the temperature of the cattle's fevers. That's the one you measured. Here are the controlled variables according to our scenario: the feed, the water, and the conditions. Again, your keyword here is the word same. Whatever type of feed you choose, you have to give the same for the cattle with treatment and the ones with no treatment. They should also drink the same kind of water from the same water source. Moreover, their conditions must be the same, so the cattle to be used in the experiment should be checked by animal scientists before undergoing the treatment. The experiment must use cows of the same age, preferably almost of the same mass, and lastly, they should all be healthy. Now that we're done with some brain exercise, let us proceed with the discussion of the nature of physics. Again, physics aims to predict how nature will behave in one situation on the basis of experimental data obtained in another situation. Aside from knowing the variables, obtaining experimental data must also involve experts and skills in manipulating laboratory equipment and tools. The experimental data obtained by experts or with the help of experts through properly using and calibrating equipment are recorded in data tables. Okay? The data on the table are represented in graphs. Based from graphs, equations are formulated for prediction of future phenomena and determination of the relationship between the independent and dependent variables investigated. So that's all for the introductory lesson to physics part 2. See you. Thank you for listening and see you on part 3.